Hi, I'm Rachel from Little Vintage Photography, and ILFORD have asked me to create this series of bite-sized videos to help introduce you to some darkroom techniques. In this video, we're going to be looking at fibre-based papers. Working with fibre-based papers in the darkroom can be a slightly different experience from using resin-coated papers, as they feel and behave slightly differently and can give some of your favourite images a new or alternative lease of life. Fibre-based papers are a double weight, which means that they are much thicker and heavier than a resin-coated paper. They also offer the opportunity to try an alternative finish, such as matte or semi-matte, which give a very different look and feel to the final print. Here are some examples of the same image printed onto all the different fibre-based paper varieties, so that you can see the difference in how the finish affects the final print. All of these papers are multi-grade, and we have the Classic Glossy, the Classic Matte, and the Cooltone Glossy. On this side, we've got the Warmtone Glossy, the Warmtone Semi-Matte, and the Art 300 paper. I personally really like the matte and semi-matte because they give something a little bit different with those velvety blacks. When working with the warmtone papers like these, it's important to remember that the time it takes for the emulsion to react with light is increased. As a general rule, I tend to double my exposure time and do another test strip to check. Two other fibre-based papers that ILFORD make are the direct positive paper, which comes in a box a bit like this. It's a 4x5 size and can go in camera to create a positive photograph without the need for a negative, as well as the textured Art 300. The MG Art 300 has a soft sheen finish and is very much like a heavyweight watercolour paper. It's ideal for things like toning or hand colouring, or simply as a textured art paper. So let's have a look at how to use fibre-based papers. When placing your fibre paper under the enlarger, ensure that you have them emulsion side up. A little tip to look for is that fibre papers tend to curl up slightly at the edges on the emulsion side, whereas resin-coated papers tend to curve down. You can also check by angling the paper slightly under the red light to get a sense of the texture and finish in comparison with the back. And if you're really unsure, a test strip can help you to be certain. Working with fibre-based papers requires additional washing in order to make the prints archival and to get the optimum use out of the papers. Helpfully, ILFORD have created a more eco-friendly sequence to help reduce water consumption whilst retaining that optimum performance. Develop, stop and fix your print as usual. Then do a first wash in fresh running water for 5 minutes. Make up ILFORD wash aid at a 1:4 dilution and agitate for 10 minutes. Then do a final wash in fresh running water for 5 minutes. The addition of wash aid helps to more effectively remove residual fixer and therefore reduces the running water wash times. When working with fibre-based papers in processing trays, make sure to agitate fully in all directions, as the slight upward curve on the paper edges can prevent the chemistry from coating the paper evenly during the initial development. When transferring fibre-based papers between trays, use tongs and be careful not to crease or bend the paper, as it's much softer and less rigid than resin-coated paper during processing once it's been submerged in liquid. Another key point to remember when working with fibre-based papers is something called dry down. As the fibres expand and contract during different stages of processing and drying, the final exposure level of the print can change. When judging an exposure level for a fibre-based print, always make sure you do this from a dry test strip or a dry test print in order to get an accurate measurement of that exposure, because it will be slightly darker than a wet, recently processed print. Finally, when working with fibre-based prints, the drying part of the process can take a little more time and patience to get right. Fibre prints can be air dried in a drying rack or pegged up. Once they're dry, you'll probably notice the edges start to curl a little, which can make them a bit trickier when trying to mount or frame up. A common way of flattening fibre-based prints is to simply place them under a heavy set of books and leave them for as long a period of time as possible. Alternatively, you could clip them into a strong frame or between a couple of pieces of glass and leave them to flatten over time. Another technique which can help is to use heat to soften the print slightly before placing it under that heavy set of books. You could use a heated press to do this if you have access to one, or as I would use, an iron. Place your dry print onto some baking paper or onto a soft towel, or even sandwich it between a couple of pieces of mounting board. Then, using your iron on the lowest setting without any steam, flatten over the edges and then put it under that set of books to cool and flatten in place. So that was working with fibre-based papers. I hope you found the video useful and that it's inspired you to have a go for yourself. We'd love to hear from you in the comments, and if you have any of your own work or images you'd like to share, please do that on ILFORD's social media channels. If you'd like to find out more about other darkroom techniques, check out ILFORD's YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching.